your grandmother, Josephine Botello Garcia. But I didn't know until much later that I was really Mary. My mother named me Mary after my father's mother. Because I was the only brown-eyed one, and my grandmother had, my mother said, beautiful brown eyes. She named me after her. And she said she named me Josephine later because my father had a girlfriend that he liked by and they called me Pina. It's called East Los Angeles now. It was known to us as, officially as Belvedere, but to us it was Maravilla, which means a miracle, and we don't know why that was, but it was called Maravilla. It was a little tiny one-room hospital. I was born December 7th, 1928. My brothers were Miguel Oscar Botello, of course. He was the oldest, born in July 3rd, 1920.
That was Mike.
Mike.
Okay.
Manuel Salvador was my brother. We called Chavalo, which means a kid. He was born December 6, 1922. Next was, I think, Vera, my sister Elvira, born October 26 or 28, 1924. After her was my sister Dora, but I'm not sure of her birthday because she died as a little girl. Then it was me, December 7, 1928. And Pito, my brother, was born April 6, 1936. Richard, the baby, was born March 5th, 1938. My mother used to work because my father was a handsome man with blue eyes and a Roman nose. My father talked, he said jokes, he had a very outgoing personality, not like mine at all. And he was very likable. He wasn't violent, he wasn't abusive, he never cussed. He was a very likable, lovable, handsome person. She was a very strict mother, but a very good mother. So she used to have to work and leave us alone. They were both very attractive people. They both had blue eyes, and they both were very attractive people. My mother's family supposedly came from Spain to New Mexico, and that's where their roots were, you know. Wonderful, religious, ethical, genteel persons, very conservative. My fathers were from Spain to Mexico, Parral, Chihuahua, and they had interest in mines, silver mines. Supposedly were well-to-do. And my mother and he met in El Paso, Texas. Married, she was like 14, he was like 16 or 17. They were babies. And then they came to live in East LA. I think Mike and Vera were born in El Paso, and the rest of us were born in East Los Angeles.
Okay.
Oh, well, my
That's
father's father, his name was Rayo, which means lightning. So one time he gets picked up because he was drinking, and so the judge tells him, "What's your name?" He says, "It was Rayo Boteo, lightning bottle," because Rayo is lightning and bottle, so sort of like bottle. Always very shy, very insecure. I think because I was very mousy looking, brown hair and brown eyes, short hair, and everybody had blue eyes except me. And they used to make a big deal over my brother Pito. He was so cute, looked like a little doll. And so I was always very insecure. And but we lived across the street from my grandmother, my mother's mother, and she was the nicest person. We used to walk to the market together, and I got from her conversations that no matter what, you had to be, if you were cheap, if you kept yourself like decent, ethical, anything, you were like a diamond in the rough. But otherwise you were just cheap like anybody else. So I got that impression. And I've loved learning. Since I was a little girl, I was a bookworm. And I love piñones, finance. I credit my brother Mike, my oldest brother. He was a lovely, quiet, neat person also. And we had a big, like an easel, like a blackboard, and it had a lot of facts on there, like state flowers, presidents, and he used to have me memorize that and encourage me also. He used to tell me if I didn't pay attention to boys and studied, he would buy me a fur coat and what else did I say, a fur coat and something else. And I said, we were as poor as Church Mike, as Church Mouse, where's he going to get money? But this is how he encouraged me to study. There was a library near our house, and my mom was very strict. She never even let me have friends, but she did let me go to the library, and I'd get books and read always. We always had duties. My mother always made us make our bed, mop, clean, wash the dishes after dinner, and responsibilities. And so we were so poor that during summers we would go up towards Fresno, where my dad's family lived, and pick grapes to carry us through the winter. Fortunately, I was sort of young, and I just didn't have to do that much. Maybe 7. Yeah, because Pito was a tiny little guy. I used to stay in the camp taking care of him, and till the people came home. We were lonely all day. We'd hear the owls howling, the birds. It was scary. We were all alone. He was always like my son, because I couldn't play ever. I had to, if I was outdoors, he was with me, always. And my mother worked, I had to take care of him, and he was very headstrong. He would throw tantrums and everything, and I would have to take care of him. But I didn't mind, I don't think. And they loved my rice, which was half cooked. There was no houses, there was no tents. It was just outdoors. And so I remember as a little girl, there was like a box where they would keep chickens. And I thought, I don't want to sleep out on the dirt or nothing. So I got this box, put it in another box, and covered it with a blanket, and crept into it to sleep, because there were lots of mosquitoes. It was sort of scary for a little girl, to do that stuff. I met your grandfather during World War II. His girlfriend used to work where my mother worked, in the biscuit factory. So one day, he took his girlfriend to my mother's house. He met my brother Mike. They took to each other. They liked each other. When he broke up with his girlfriend, he and my brother Mike continued to be friends, and he used to go to our house. He was very kind to us. We were real poor, and he bought us a Christmas tree, and he would buy us things, And so we grew to like him. Then he went to the war. He came back, and I had no boyfriend. He had no girlfriend. We just met and married. And we married in Arizona, and September 30th, 1944. Yeah, and he still was in the service. We had our first child in 2 years after our marriage, and then the second one, I think 2 years after that. Sally was our oldest, born in September 15, 1946. Philip was born June 1st, 1948. Arthur was born November 23rd, 1949. You were next. Irene was born July the 18th, 1951. And Richard was born April 16th, 1953. And Bobby, May 30th, 1956. And Helen, September 15th, 1957. So we had 7 children total. I always wanted my own house, since we lived with my mother, with his mother, with my grandmother in a garage, in a trailer, in an old house. I wanted my own house. So I've always saved, no matter how poor I was. So we bought this first house on Gerardo Street, 415 Gerardo Street, near Roosevelt School. And it was small, and then later on we built a big bedroom onto it, because we had 7 children. And my brothers were always with us. And then I read in the paper about this house, brand new, for $10,500. I thought, hey, that sounds good. Was it Albany? No. What was the name of it? San Gabriel. San Gabriel? South San Gabriel. And so I told my sister-in-law, and she took me to see it, and I loved it. But we always had old houses, old houses. This was brand new, you know. And so it was $1,000 down, I think. And so I borrowed $500. And then we bought it, and it was very rough because his work was not reliable, and Richard was so sickly, and it was very difficult for us. But we managed, you know. But we always loved our family. That's what I liked about my husband, that he was a very good father and hard worker, you know. And we were very poor, never had fruit, milk, vegetables, just corn patties, tuna patties, hot cakes for dinner, rice and beans, potatoes. So there were.
If there was a piece of meat, it was a small piece, you had to share 7 ways. Remember, you had to cut it up 7 or 10 pieces. You basically got a bite each.
I'd even buy powder milk for the kids, you know, to have. Yeah. And so it was, but I never asked for help. I never felt it was anybody's responsibility by mine. They were my children, you know. We didn't go too often, but when we did, we always did it as a family. Always. Everything. I'd make burritos, pack them, and we'd eat them in the car. And we went to the park, to the beach, wherever. It was always a family unit. When our income tax refund would come, we would do something special. We'd either
every year?
Yes, go to a restaurant, which was a big deal once a year. Yeah, that was a big deal. We'd go to the Chinese restaurant. One time we went to Disneyland. We'd go to Eden Canyon. Just things where you didn't have to spend a lot of money mostly, you know. But always as a group, always. Well, my husband was very patriotic, even though he was born in Mexico. He served in the Army during World War II. So our family always had that patriotism. So during Vietnam, our oldest son, Philip, enrolled in the paratroopers. I think he was 18 and got sent to Vietnam. He had several injuries, but a very severe one where his right arm got shot off and was dangling in pieces and got sewed back on. And so he had to manage like that. Arthur also, Because he says, I have his words, he says he got angry with the way Philip was treated, so he enlisted. And he was a medic. In Vietnam, he flew in helicopters, even though as a little boy he used to hate heights and rides and everything.
He didn't get on the merry-go-round.
Not even on a little roller coaster. But he was my kids did what they had to do. So he was a medic, rescuing wounded men, taking killed men out of the jungle. And luckily he didn't get wounded, but he
had mental scars.
Yeah, he became very introverted, would you say? But it was awful. It was like we were in mourning. I would stare out at the moon and say, the same moon that's here is shining over them in Vietnam. And you just feel angry. I got my high school diploma at the same time and from the same school as my oldest daughter, Sally. At Mark Keppel, in San Gabriel. But I always loved learning. I just get a high out of it. So I kept going to night school. So then I thought, well, why not try junior college? Now, once I took most of the classes at the adult school, I thought, well, I'll try the community college. Even though I'm older. What was I, in my 40s, I think? I'm not sure. I started East LA, and I loved it. I took all kinds of classes. History, music, took piano, I took Chicano studies, I took bookkeeping, I took everything. And as units accumulated, I thought, gee, with a few more, I'll get my degree. And I got my associate nights in 14 years it took me. Because I didn't go consistently, it was difficult. So it took me 14 years to get my AA in office administration, which was shorthand typing, business English, all those things. Well, I graduated cum laude. You know what that is? With honors. And I got a scholarship. So with the money, I thought, well, I'll try Cal State, and I did. Graduated in 82 from East LA. In 83 I went to Cal State. I had more than enough for my Bachelor of Arts, but because I had no algebra, I couldn't get my degree. So that's a regret I have, but it wasn't my fault. I got a job with being a teacher's aide, ¿verdad? And then it was rough because you have all these unruly kids, And then I was a clerk in the office, and then I liked that. I loved that. And then a secretary, which I loved. I retired as a secretary to the director of bilingual education. Okay, this is how I met the newspaper man, Dwayne Noriyuki. He had written a story about his parents, and I liked it a lot because they were Japanese, real nice people. So I emailed him. I enjoyed it, and I said, I'm about your parents' age, but I'm on my way to school. So it intrigued him. He called me, wanted to interview me. Yeah, so he came and interviewed me. I think it was January 2nd, 2000. And then due to this story, my story came out in a book also. It's called Women of Steel.
By who?
By this educator in Fullerton.
Do you remember her name?
Lydia
Something with a B?
Romero or Roman or something. No, Belize. Yes. If I forget, at Cal State I was a member of the Golden Key National Honor Society and Kappa Phi Honor Society. Sally has 4 children.
Sally has
Philip
4.
And then Philip has
2.
Monica and Aaron.
3.
And
Oh,
3. And you have 2.
2. Arthur had 3. I'm already out of fingers.
And Bobby had 2.
2.
And Helen 2.
2.
Yeah. Marriage is the hardest thing because even if you're the same ethnicity, you're brought up differently, you think differently. I would not tell anybody what to do. Who knows what they go through, but for my sake, I'm glad I stayed. I'm glad, I have a great family, and I've got my education. I write. I fill up my time writing or stories or poetry. There's nothing that I would rather do than spend time with my family. I appreciate life more. Every morning I thank God I'm alive, I'm breathing. And I try to be as productive as I can, even though my arm is limited, I cannot move it. I sweep, I mop, I wash dishes, I wash clothes, I do everything. My husband's still good health. We have our own home, we don't bother anybody. No, I think I feel very satisfied with what I've accomplished. Yeah. No regrets other than I didn't get an education like I wanted, that's it. But it wasn't nobody's fault.
You got the education, you just didn't get the degree.
That's it. Well, I still would like to get a book published. I'll still strive for that.
You should work on it.
My Spanish book.
You should work on it.
Yeah, when I finish it. I'm very happy. Each day I thank God I'm alive. I'm breathing. I have a family.
Thank you, Grandma.
You're welcome, hijo. Thank you.
Okay.
Dateline today. Millions choke the streets to honor one of America's greatest heroes. Mom! No award is too big, no gesture too small for this matronly matriarch of motherhood. Even President Truman got in on the act. Mom is awesome. Don't stop there, Harry. She's also caring and strong. Yes, Mom is truly a very